Welcome to another episode of Thoughts to Chew On, the show where the chop and blood gets fleshed out. And despite the mixed reaction to Square Enix's Marvel's Avengers, they were given a second chance with next month's Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. This week was the PlayStation Showcase, which is like a Nintendo Direct, but filled with stuff you're never gonna get because of scalpers. Anyway, during the PlayStation Showcase, we got a story trailer to the aforementioned Hail Mary to Square Enix's take on the Marvel Universe, and it has the same look and feeling of Marvel's Avengers. Honestly, whoever's in charge of the art direction of the franchise has a weird ability for making the Marvel Universe look as boring and generic as possible. I mean, look at Peter Quill, he looks like a create your own character for God's sake. At least Sonic Forces had an art style, and that was a bootleg Funko Pop aesthetic. Even the humor falls flat when they try to emulate the MCU, and there's a part of the trailer where it shows you doing the same thing, but in 3 different places, which makes the game seem like a repetitive team-based adventure game. Could the game be great? For sure, but at least the trailer has some kick-ass music. In that same showcase, we got to see the next 2 titles from Insomniac Studios, the developers behind Marvel's Spider-Man and last year's Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. These 2 titles being the highly anticipated Spider-Man 2 and a game starring Wolverine. The trailer to Marvel's Wolverine just shows him drinking at a bar with someone asking for a NASCAR game. If you actually look closer, you can see a license plate on the wall with the letters HLK followed by the numbers 181. This is actually a reference to Hulk issue 181, which is the first appearance of Wolverine. While there's no official release date, it seems to be a PS5 exclusive, which means the push to next gen is officially around the corner. To quote Nick from the Game Apologist, "We as a species need to sort out this scrap situation by 2023 because if they keep me from the inevitable Venom-themed PS5 console, I will wage war in the streets." AKA Wyla on Twitter. So scalpers beware. And speaking of a Venom-themed PS5 console,
yes, we will.
The highly anticipated trailer to Marvel's Spider-Man 2 was shown, and unlike the trailer to Marvel's Wolverine, it was all in engine and had a release year of 2023. The trailer shows both Peter and Miles taking down Kraven's goons, meaning that the 2-character takedown from Spider-Man Miles Morales is making a comeback. While it's been confirmed that there's no co-op mode, this does give hope of a 2-character system. Also, Spider-Man has his spider arms, which is really cool. By far, the best part of the trailer was when we finally got to see this game's take on Venom, which surprisingly is going to be played by Tony Todd, which actually if you think about it, it kind of fits. Overall, it was really cool seeing Peter and Miles fight side by side as equals, and I was honestly surprised to see Kraven as the main antagonist next to Venom. Despite the Kraven symbiote combo being done poorly in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I'm hoping that, it's way better than that, this has to be my most anticipated game of 2023. Take a shot every time I say Marvel because Marvel's What If released an episode featuring the Marvel Zombies. I'm a huge fan of Marvel Zombies, so I was already hyped for this, and when I watched it at 3 AM, I was honestly disappointed. I wasn't a fan of the weird decision to force humor onto this episode, and whenever the episode tried to be serious or horrific, the comedic tone didn't give those moments time to breathe. I wasn't really a fan of the animation style as well, and considering that this was my first episode of What If that I set out to watch, it's probably something that you're supposed to get used to, but it always rode that line between caricature and trying to look like the actors. I was honestly surprised how many of the movie actors they got for this episode, and the performances was hit or miss. At first I thought they got a Paul Rudd impersonator with how exaggerated it sounded, but no, that's actually Paul Rudd. Mark Ruffalo sounded really off. It sounded as if he just read the script or was in a hurry instead of getting into the character. While a lot of the acting fell off, there were actually some exceptions like Evangeline Lilly, Emily Van Camp, Chadwick Boseman, and Hudson Thames, who replaced Tom Holland as Spider-Man. He did a great impression of Tom Holland, and he did a great job portraying Spider-Man as the glue that holds the team together. The episode did have some great moments, but compared to the books it was based off, the episode lacked what made the concept unique compared to any other zombie episode. In the books, the zombies could speak, had intelligence, and whenever they ate human flesh, they lamented over eating people, but in this episode, they were just zombified husks with superpowers. Although I did enjoy that the zombies resemble Sean Phillips' art in some instances, but the episode had moments of fan service, such as T'Challa being used as a food source, Ant-Man's head in a jar like how Wasp was in the book, and even lines from the book were used. We also got to see zombie Thanos, which was cool. While I wasn't really a fan of the episode, and I wish that it took more from the source material, it was still pretty cool to see an animated version of the undead heroes of the Marvel Universe.
Ironically, it was the Avengers' heroism that sealed humanity's fate.
The final topic that I wanted to cover was the news about the upcoming film Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. The movie's coming out in 2 months, and yet we've barely heard anything about it. At this point, the idea of it existing was on the same level as getting a PS5 for a reasonable price. The only thing we've seen were leaks of the set being constructed, but other than that, it felt as if this movie was either to be pushed back or cancelled. But last week, IGN released an article that gave us a first look at how the sets looked and how the actors looked in costume. On top of that, the other day we got news that the film's test screening went well, with the caveat being that Wesker and Jill were going to be a couple in the movie. Mixed fan reception aside, I don't understand why they decided to add a romantic subplot when the film is trying to adapt 2 games which total at about 19 hours of game crammed into a 1 to 2 hour film. So I have no idea why they thought they needed more things to juggle when they have 2 games to work with. Furthermore, this idea was already done in the Anderson films not once, but twice. Wesker and Jill being a couple makes no sense on every level, but let's talk about the photos that IGN provided. Our first look at the film and what the hell happened to Jill's outfit. Everyone has their game accurate outfit, so why not Jill? On top of that, what happened to Lisa Trevor? Why does her mask look like plastic? It's a mask made out of human skin, not something straight out of Spirit Halloween. I think the outfit and the makeup look fine enough and pretty accurate, but the mask ruins the whole thing. Claire's hair is also pretty inaccurate, Wesker's missing his sunglasses, and Leon.
Look how they mess with my boy.
While the outfit looks great and game accurate, they did nothing to his hair and kept Jogia's facial hair. It's as if Avon Jogia walked onto the set and was just told to wear his costume and nothing else. Other than the sets looking fine and the costumes pretty accurate for the most part, minus a few things, it feels weird that they barely showed anything for the film for information like this to drop at the last second. At this time, we normally get a second to final trailer, not a first look exclusive, a couple months prior to release. I'm not excited for this film, and now we know how Sonic fans felt when this happened. But this ends another episode of Thoughts to Chew On. I'd like to thank Komaeda for his work on the stills, and I'd like to thank my patrons for supporting the channel. They are Leocrit, Hachi, and Roy, and if you'd like to support the channel, the link will be at the end of the video and in the description below. Love you guys, and shamalamamoomoo.